One of the really nice things about the Perl language is that all of the control structures can be written postfix as well as prefix. So we've seen a little bit of this in our coverage of the individual loop control structures. Let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. Go ahead and make a copy of loops.pl, and we will call this postfix.pl. We'll go ahead and open that. And here you have the file open. We'll go ahead and print all the lines of the file like this. And that is all that's necessary. That'll print each line of the file line by line. Go ahead and save it and run it. You see there's the lines of our file, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our lines file here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll notice that this is probably the simplest loop we've written so far. It has the print statement, which is the internal function for printing, and while, and just the file handle in angle brackets inside the parentheses for the while. And that's really all there is to it. The way this works is by using as a temporary variable Perl's default variable. It actually is exactly the same as if we'd written it like this. Save that and run it. You see that works exactly the same. This is Perl's default variable. It's one of the special variables, and we'll cover it in a little bit more detail in the chapter on special variables, but this is the most common of all the special variables. This is used as a default variable in all kinds of places throughout the Perl language. And so if you don't include this assignment, then Perl just assumes that that's what you're doing, that you're assigning to the default variable. And if you don't include it here, the built-in print function actually assumes that you are printing the default variable. And so this just becomes a convenient shorthand, and you'll see this a lot in Perl. And save that and run it again. And we see that that's how that works. If we want to, we could use our own variable. We'll have to declare it first. And we can also give it a default value. That's always a good idea. And you can say print $line while $line equals the file handle. And that'll do exactly the same thing, that it'll use our variable instead of the default variable. Likewise, we can use until, and in this case, we'll go ahead and assign over here from the file handle. And we'll test this for, say, the line with a number 3 in it. And go ahead and save that and run it. And you'll see this also as a rather common construction. You say we're printing each of the lines, and we're loading the line here because we're using the postfix notation, and we're using until, and just printing until we get to the line that says number 3. And in this case, we've already printed it, and so it gets printed out that way. So that's while and until in postfix notation. You can also use for each in postfix notation. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this because we're not going to use our lines file.txt anymore. And we'll go ahead and declare a list. My list equals 1, 2, 3. I'm using the single quotes here because we're not interpolating. We don't need to. 4 and 5. And say print. And in this case, I'm going to use the default like this because I want the new lines. And there aren't any new lines in our strings. For each list. And that is a very simple way to do that. We'll go ahead and save that and run it. And there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any of the control structures in Perl can be used postfix. These are some of the ones that are very common, that you'll see commonly, and are very powerful in this structure. And you see that the action is at the beginning of the line, and a lot of people like that. When you get used to these Perlisms, they become very powerful. And of course, you'll see them very commonly when you look at existing Perl code.